preparing to live stream the meeting. While it's doing that, let's start with the blessing over the learning of the Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu al divrei Torah. And let's jump right in. Returning to, no, we did this part. I'm sorry, I lost place here. Okay. Furthermore, I might have thought that one may make his voice heard in his Amida prayer, that you should speak loudly during your prayer. It has already been articulated by Hannah in her prayer, as it is stated, and Hannah spoke in her heart, only her lips moved, and her voice could not be heard. Halachos, laws regarding the order of the prayers, were also learned from the prayers of biblical characters. I might have thought that one should request his own needs first and afterward recite prayers of thanksgiving and praise. It has already been articulated by Solomon that it is not so, as in Solomon's prayer at the dedication of the Holy Temple. It is stated, to hear the song and the prayer that your servant prays before you today. Now, which part of that refers to the thanksgiving and praise, and which one refers to requesting your own needs, the song and the prayer?
Well, the song
is prayer.
and the praise.
Yeah. So what did King Solomon do? Did he first ask God for his needs, or did he first praise and offer thanks?
Praise, of course.
Yeah, very good. In this verse, song is prayer, in the sense of thanks and praise. And prayer is one's request of his personal needs. Therefore, one who is praying does not speak of matters of request after he began to recite Emet V'Yatziv, which is the last blessing before the Amida prayer. And the Amida prayer is the essence of prayer. Rather, he begins with praise in the first three blessings of the Amida, and only thereafter does he include requests for his needs. But after you finish the Amida prayer, there is no limit. If he desires to recite even the equivalent of the order of confession of Yom Kippur, he may recite it at the end of his prayer. This was also stated by an Amora. Rav Chia Bar Ashi said in the name of Rav, although the sages said that one requests his personal needs in the blessing who listens to prayer, in other words, that is, in each blessing, we can ask for specific requests regarding to that blessing. For example, in the blessing which ends off, he who grants wisdom and understanding, if there's something particular that we're trying to understand, we can ask God to help us understand it. Or in the blessing of heal us, we can mention specific names or specific things that we need healing from. And when it comes to all our general requests, in the blessing of who listens to prayer is an appropriate time to ask for anything that you need. That is with regard to one who wishes to do so as a part of the Amida prayer. However, if he comes to add and recite additional requests after completing his Amida prayer, even if his personal requests are the equivalent, meaning it's very long, like the order of the confession of Yom Kippur, he may recite them at the end of your prayer. You can say whatever you want between you and God. Rav Amnuna said, let's see how many significant halachos can be derived from the verses of the prayer of Hannah. So now we're getting into the story of Hannah to learn various things about prayer. And after that, we're going to get into the story of Hannah herself. As it says, and Hannah spoke in her heart, only her lips moved, and her voice could not be heard. So Eli thought her to be drunk, right? It used to be if you saw someone walking down the street and mumbling, they were crazy or drunk. Today, they're speaking on Bluetooth. The Gemara elaborates, from that which is stated here, and Hannah spoke in her heart, the halacha that one who prays must focus his heart on his prayer is derived. So the fact that she spoke in her heart means that your heart has to be connected to the words that you're saying. And from that which is stated here, only her lips moved, is the halacha that one who prays must enunciate the words with his lips, not only to contemplate them in his heart. Whenever we pray, we have to make sure that our lips are moving, not just that we're thinking about the words. From that which is written here, and her voice could not be heard, the halacha is that one is forbidden to raise his voice in the Amida prayer, as it must be recited quietly. From the continuation of the verse here, because she was whispering to herself, murmuring to herself very quietly, Eli. Who was Eli? Does anybody know? Eli was the high priest, the head of the temple. And he saw her there praying at the tabernacle, and he thought her to be drunk. So he was about to send her away. What do we learn from that? The halacha is that a drunk person is forbidden to pray, and that is why he rebuked her.
What about on Purim?
What about on Purim? That is a very good question.
Are there any prayers on Purim when people have had all the wine?
There are prayers on Purim, and that's why I have to make sure that you pray early in the morning and that you drink enough early enough that you'll be sober by the time it's time to pray the afternoon prayers.
Mm-hmm.
On the subject of Eli's rebuke of Hannah, now that we're talking about Eli rebuking Hannah, why did he go over to rebuke her, right? He saw some drunk lady, so why is he rebuking her? As it is stated, and Eli said to her, how long will you remain drunk? Remove your wine from yourself. Rabbi Elazar said, from here we learn the halacha that one who sees in another. And we have finished page 31a. An unseemly matter must reprimand him as is derived. So from here we see that he didn't just keep his opinions to himself, and of course he was in the position and he knew that she would listen if indeed he was saying correctly. He happened to have misread the situation, but we can't just go around telling everybody that every time we see someone doing something wrong to go and tell them off, because that's usually not the way that they'll be receptive to it. But if you do have a relationship with someone and it is such that they will listen to you if you rebuke them, then you should go over to them and tell them in the correct way that what they're doing is not right. And Hannah answered, and she said, no, my master, I am a woman of sorrowful spirit, and I have drunk neither wine nor liquor, but I pour out my soul before the Lord. Regarding the words, no, my master, Ulla, and some say it was Rabbi Yosef, the son of Rabbi Hanina, said, she said to him in an allusion, with regard to this matter, you are not a master. She said, no, my master, but what she meant was, you are not a master. Meaning, the divine spirit is not resting on you right now because you're falsely suspecting me of this.
Then why did she say no, my master?
She was hinting to it. This was a hint, not the context of what she was trying to say is you're wrong, but she was alluding to say you got this one wrong, and you are not a master of the divine spirit, shall we say. Your prophecy is failing you. Some say another version of her response, she said to him, questioning, aren't you a master? Aren't the divine presence and divine spirit with you? That you judged me to be guilty and you did not judge me to be innocent. Didn't you know that I'm a woman of distressed spirit? So she was telling him, don't be so quick to come to conclusions. With regards to Hannah's explanation that I have drunk neither wine nor liquor, Rabbi Elazar said, from here the halacha is derived that one who is suspected of something of which he is not guilty cannot suffice merely with the personal knowledge of his innocence, but must inform the one who suspects him that he is innocent and clear himself of suspicion. It's a very important thing, that if there are other people who think you did something wrong, if you know that and you have the ability to explain yourself, then it's a good idea to let them know so that they shouldn't be suspicious of you. And she continued and she said, do not take your maidservant as a wicked woman, for out of the abundance of my complaint and anger have I spoken until now. Rabbi Elazar said, from here is the halacha, that when a drunk person prays, it is as if he engaged in idol worship, is derived, as it is written here that Hannah, who was suspected of praying while drunk, defended herself and said, don't take your maidservant as a bat Belial. And is written there with regard to a city that has been instigated to engage in idol worship, B'nai Belial have gone out from your midst and have lured the inhabitants of their city, saying, let us go and serve other gods that we have not known. So, by means of this verbal analogy is derived, just as there in the case of idolatrous city, the term Belial indicates idol worship, so to here in the case of one who prays drunk, Belial indicates idol worship, and she said, I am not drunk, and therefore don't think that I am equated with an idol worshiper. The verse continues, and Eli answered and said, may you go in peace. He blessed her. Rabbi Elazar said, from here the halacha is derived that one who suspects another of something that they have not done, he must appease him. Moreover, the one who suspected him must bless him, as Eli continued and offered Hannah a blessing, as it is stated, and may the God of Israel grant your request that you have asked of him. Incidental to this discussion of Hannah's prayer, the Gemara explores related topics. In her prayer, Hannah said, and she swore an oath and said, Lord of hosts, if you will indeed look upon the affliction of your maidservant and remember me, and not forget your maidservant, and will give your maidservant a male child, I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and there shall be no razor come upon his head. Rabbi Elazar said, from the day that the Holy One, blessed be he, created this world, there was no person who called the Holy One, blessed be he, Lord of hosts, until Hannah came and called him Lord of hosts. This is the first time in the Bible that God is referred to by this name. So why did she come up with this name for God? Rabbi Elazar explains that Hannah said before the Holy One, blessed be he, Master of the universe, are you not the Lord of the hosts, and of all of the hosts and hosts of creations that you have created in your world? Is it difficult in your eyes to grant me one son? Right? You're in charge of everything. You have billions of creatures. Is it that hard for you to make one son for me? The Gemara suggests a parable to what is this similar. It is similar to a king of flesh and blood who made a feast for his servants. A poor person came and stood at the door. He said to them, give me one slice of bread. And they paid him no attention. He pushed and entered before the king, and he said to him, my king, my lord the king, from this entire feast that you have prepared, is it so difficult in your eyes to give me a single slice of bread? That's what Hannah's request was like. As for the double language in the verse, if you will look upon me, it says imra'oi tire, which is a double expression. Usually a double expression will be translated as if you will surely look upon me. But what it really means is if you will see, you will see. So why the double expression there? Rabbi Elazar said, Hannah said before the Holy One, blessed be he, Master of the universe, if you will look upon me now, fine. right? If you answer me and you grant my request, good. And if not, in any case, you will see. That sounds like a threat, doesn't it? What was she threatening God with? What was Hannah threatening? So here we're going to need a little bit of background. In the Torah, there is let's see if we can maybe just pull it up real quick. I think it's here. Yeah. Okay, let's read this, and this will give us a general overview. Can you all see here where it says fourth portion?
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is the laws of the adulterous woman. And God spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the Israelites and say to them, Should any man's wife stray, and he suspect that she has been unfaithful to him, by letting a man lie with her carnally, unbeknownst to her husband, and she was secluded, and she was defiled, and there was no witness against her, and she was not seized. If a spirit of suspicion had come over him, and he had warned his wife in front of witnesses, and she was defiled, or a spirit of suspicion had come upon him, and he had warned his wife with witnesses, and she was not defiled. In other words, there are two scenarios, right? He's suspecting his wife of being unfaithful, so he calls together witnesses and he warns her in front of them, do not seclude yourself with this guy. And now there are two options. Either she was, and then she was secluded with him. Either she was defiled or she wasn't defiled. Either something happened there or nothing happened there. So what do we do? Because we don't have witnesses who saw anything actually intimate happening. The man must bring his wife to the priest and bring her offering for her. The priest will bring the offering in the altar, which is 1/10 of an ephah of barley flour. He must neither pour oil over it nor put frankincense on it, for it is a grain offering expressing jealousies, a grain offering of remembrance, recalling iniquity. The priest must bring her forth and present her before God. The priest must take holy water in an earthen vessel, and the priest must take some earth from the tabernacle floor and put it into the water. The priest must present the woman before God. He must expose the hair and the head of the woman. He must place the grain offering of remembrance, which is a grain offering of jealousies, into her hand, while the water that may prove bitter and fatal remains in the priest's hand. The priest must then place her under oath and say to the woman, If no man has lain with you, and you have not gone astray to become defiled by another man in place of your husband, be absolved through this bitter, fatal water. So over here, the words be absolved means you should become clean, and you will be cleansed. So from here, we're going to learn, the Talmud explains that if indeed she was righteous and she had not, righteous is probably not the right word here, but if indeed she was innocent, innocent is probably not the right word here either. But if she was indeed faithful to her husband and she had not been intimate with another man, then she will get an abundance of blessing. And she will have, if she was barren, she will have children, she will have male children, healthy children, and so on and so forth. But as for you, if you have gone astray with another man instead of your husband, and you have become defiled, and another man beside your husband has lain with you, then the priest must then adjure the woman with the oath of the curse. The priest must say to the woman, May God make you into a curse and an oath among your people. When God causes your thigh to rupture and your belly to swell, for this fatal water will enter your innards, causing the belly to swell and the thigh to rupture, and the woman must say, Amen, Amen. Then the priest must write these curses on a scroll and erase it in the bitter water. He must give the bitter, fatal water to the woman to drink, and this fatal water will enter her, becoming bitter. Then he takes the offering and puts it on the altar, and then he makes her drink the water. If she had been defiled and was unfaithful to her husband, the fatal water will enter her to become bitter, and her belly will swell, and her thigh will rupture. The woman will be a curse among her people, and she would die. But if the woman had not become defiled, and she is guiltless, she will be exempted, and she will bear children. This is the law of suspicions, which is applied when a woman strays with someone other than her husband and is defiled, and a spirit of suspicion comes over the husband, and he warns his wife, and he presents the woman before God, the priest must do to her all the procedures of this law. The husband will be absolved of iniquity, and that woman will bear her iniquity. So that's the background over here. So back to our story. What was Hannah threatening? Now we have the background to understand. She said, what am I going to do? If you answer my prayer, good. But if not, I will go and seclude myself with another man before Elkanah, my husband. Since I secluded myself, they will force me to drink this bitter water to determine whether or not I have committed adultery. I will be found innocent, and since you will not make your Torah false, I will bear children. With regard to a woman who is falsely suspected of adultery and drank the sota water, the Torah says, and if the woman was not defiled but was pure, then she will be acquitted and she shall conceive. So that was her threat to God. She said, either you answer my prayer, or I will make you give me a child. So that was Rabbi Elazar's explanation of her threat. However, Rabbi Elazar's opinion works out well according to the one who said that the verse means that if she was barren, she will be remembered by God and granted children. But according to the one who translates that verse meaning that childbearing will be easier and more successful, meaning not that if she's barren she will have children, but rather if she had previously given birth with pain, she will now give birth with ease. Or if she had previously given birth to daughters, she will now give birth to sons. Or if she had previously given birth to black children considered to be unattractive, she now give birth to fair children. Or if she had previously given birth to short, weak children, she'll give birth to tall, strong children. So what can be said then about her threat to God? Because according to this opinion, a barren woman will not be caused to conceive just because of secluding themselves with another man. As it was taught in another brisa, that the Tanaim, the authors of the Mishnah, the sages in the times of the Mishnah, disputed the interpretation of that verse that we just read. The verse is, then she shall be acquitted and she shall conceive. Teaches that if she was barren, she'll be remembered by God and granted children. That is the statement of Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Akiva said to him, if so, all barren women will go and seclude themselves with men who are not their husbands, and any woman who did not commit the sin of adultery will be remembered by God and granted children. So it's a loophole for anybody to get pregnant if they are barren. It's cheaper than IVF, and it's not very appropriate, but so long as she doesn't sin and just locks herself in a room with this guy, then she will be taken to the temple and given this water to drink, and then she will have children. Rather, the verse is teaching us that this is merely a promise for greater ease in childbirth. If she had previously been given birth with pain, she now gives birth with ease. If she has previously given birth to short children, she'll give birth to tall children. If she previously given birth to black children, she now gives birth to fair children. If she previously gave birth to one child, she now gives birth to two children, twins.
And what exactly is wrong with short children?
I don't know. I guess in those days, to be short was not as preferable as to be tall.
I said that as a joke,
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
being horizontally challenged myself.
I was gonna say,
Challenged.
Chaim probably didn't have that question. Yeah. According to Rabbi Akiva's explanation, oh, what was it? I heard a great line this morning. The economy is doing so bad that even the mafia is letting go of the judges.
Is letting go of what?
Is letting the judges go. They're dismissing the judges.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, according to Rabbi Akiva's explanation, what is derived from the double language uttered by Hannah, Imro'oi Tire? And the answer is the Torah spoke in the language of man, meaning that this double language is not extraordinary and nothing may be derived from it. It's common biblical vernacular to use a double expression. You shall surely see me in my pain. So in this prayer and oath that was uttered by Hannah, where she prays for a child and swears that if the child is born, she will offer him to the Lord, she refers to herself as your servant 3 times. The affliction of your maidservant, and not forget your maidservant, and will give your maidservant. Rabbi Yosei, the son of Rabbi Chanina, said, why are these three maidservants cited in the verse? They are cited to teach that Hannah said before the Holy One, blessed be he. Master of the universe, you have created three crucibles, potentially leading to death in a woman. A crucible is like a little glass jar, right?
Yeah.
Something like that, but it has other meanings.
It's well, traditionally it's something that would use to mix medicines in.
Right. In the Hebrew, Shleisha Bidke Misa means that there are three things that will lead to death. Okay, I guess it's a choice of language here. Where she is particularly vulnerable. Alternatively, some say, Master of the universe, you have created three accelerants of death in a woman. They are mitzvahs that, as a rule, a general rule, are rules pertaining to women that she is in charge of. Observing the halachas of a menstruating woman, separating challah from the dough, and lighting Shabbat candles. Have I ever violated one of them? So Chana is attesting to her status as God's maidservant in these three things. And the reference to these three mitzvahs is drawn from the etymological similarity between Amosecha, which means maidservant, and Misa, which means death. So she said, is there any one of these three mitzvahs that I have been lax in, that therefore you should punish me and not give me a son? And later in her prayer, Hannah says, and you will grant your servant an offspring of men. What does it mean, an offspring of men? The Gemara asks, what does that mean? Rav said, Hannah prayed for a man among men, a son who would be outstanding and exceptional. And Shmuel said, this expression means an offspring who will anoint two men to royalty. And who were the two men that the prophet Samuel anointed? Does anyone know?
It says Saul and David right there.
Oh, very good. Saul and David, which is a long and interesting story in and of itself. Rabbi Yochanan said, Hannah prayed that she would bear an offspring who would be the equivalent of two of the world's greatest men. And who are they? Moses and Aaron. As it is stated, and we say this in the Friday night prayers, Moses and Aaron among his priests, and Samuel among those who call his name. In this verse, Hannah's son Samuel is equated to Moses and Aaron. And the rabbis say exactly the opposite. An offspring of men, Hannah was praying for an offspring who would be inconspicuous among men, that he would not stand out in any way. Why do you think that she would want a child who would not stand out in any way?
And keep him safe from danger.
To keep him safe from danger and to keep him safe from the evil eye. The Gemara relates, when Rav Dimi came from Eretz Yisrael to Babylonia, he said in explanation that what does this word mean? Hannah prayed that her son would be not conspicuous among men, not too tall, not too short, not too small, not too skinny, not too fat, not too white, not too red, not too smart, and not too stupid. Well, as we all know, of course, the prayer of Hannah was answered, and this was on the day of Rosh Hashanah, and she conceived. And when he was 2 years old, she brought him to the tabernacle. And when Hannah came to the tabernacle, the temple, with her son Samuel, she told the high priest Eli, my lord, as your soul lives, my lord, I am the woman who stood here with you to pray to the Lord. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi said, from here we see, from here the halacha that is forbidden to sit within 4 cubits of one who is praying is derived, as the verse states, who stood here with you, indicating that Eli stood alongside Hannah because she was praying. That's what she said, I stood here with you, because he was standing since she was praying. Additionally, Hannah's emphasis in speaking to Eli, and she said, "For this youth I prayed," indicates that she was trying to protect him from danger. What was this danger that she was trying to protect him from? As Rabbi Elazar said, Samuel was one who taught a law in the presence of his teacher. There was something that was asked, a question, and he I don't know, interrupted is the right word, but he went ahead and said what the law is instead of deferring to his teacher who was in the area. And that is a grave offense. One must not teach a law if they're within a certain distance of their teacher. They should refer people to their teacher. They should defer to their teacher. So Samuel did that, and we're going to learn, I think, later what happened. So yeah, right here we're going to learn what happened. So Hannah wanted to pray that he not be punished by death at the hands of heaven for his transgression. As it is stated, what happened? They slaughtered the cow, and they brought Samuel the youth to Eli. This verse is puzzling. Because they slaughtered the cow, therefore they brought the youth to Eli. What does one have to do with the next? They slaughtered a cow, and then they brought Samuel to Eli. What's going on? Rather, this is what happened. Somebody brought an offering, and Eli said to those who brought the offering, "Call a priest, and let the priest come and slaughter your offering." Samuel saw them that they were looking for a priest who could come and slaughter the animal. He said to them, "Why do you need to look for a priest to slaughter it? The slaughtering portion of the sacrifice, and if it was performed by a non-priest, is still valid. And so you don't need a priest to slaughter, you just need a priest to collect the blood." I guess they didn't have any priests there on hand who were sheikhets, slaughterers. They brought him before Eli to clarify his statement. Eli said to him, "How do you know this?" Samuel said, "What do you mean? It's written in the Torah." And Samuel said to him, "Is it written in the Torah, and the priest shall slaughter?" Indicating that offering may only be slaughtered by a priest. That's not what it says. It is written, "And the priest shall offer." Only from the stage of receiving the blood in the bowl and onward is it a mitzvah incumbent upon the priest alone. From here, we see that slaughter by a non-priest is acceptable. Eli said to Samuel, "You have spoken well, and your statement is correct." Second.
Well, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Sorry, I just need to blow my nose. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Eli said to Samuel, "You have spoken well, and your statement is correct, but nevertheless, you have issued a halachic ruling in the presence of your teacher. And the rule is that anyone who issues a halachic ruling in the presence of their teacher, even if the particular halacha is correct, they are liable for death at the hand of God for showing contempt for his teacher." And then Hannah came and shouted before him, "I am the woman who stood here with you to pray to the Lord. Do not punish the child who was born of my prayers." He said to her, "Let me punish him, and I will pray for mercy that God will grant you a son who will be greater than this one." She said to him, "For this youth I prayed, and I want no other. No, I don't want you to kill him and get me a new son. This is the son I prayed for, and this is the son that I want, and don't punish him, and make sure that God doesn't punish him either." The Gemara continues to deal with Hannah's prayer. It is said, "And Hannah spoke on her heart." Several interpretations are offered to explain her use of the phrase "on her heart" instead of the common phrase, which would be she prays to her heart. Rabbi Elazar said in the name of Rabbi Yosef ben Zimra, Hannah spoke to God concerning matters of her heart. She said to him, "Master of the universe, of all the organs you created in a woman, you have not created one in vain. Every organ fulfills its purpose: eyes to see, ears to hear, a nose to smell, a mouth to speak, hands with which to perform labor, feet with which to walk, and breasts with which to nurse? If so, these breasts that you have placed upon my heart, to what purpose did you place them? Was it not in order to nurse with them? Grant me a son, and I will nurse with them. So that's why she was praying on her heart. She was praying about that which was on her heart, literally, and saying, did you create me with these for no reason? Give me a son so that I can use them. Tangentially, the Gemara cites an additional statement that Rabbi Elazar said in the name of Rabbi Yosef ben Zimra. Anyone who sits in observance of a fast on Shabbos, his merit is great, and they tear up and repeal a sentence of 70 years. Because everyone is enjoying themselves and a feast is prepared, it is more difficult to fast on Shabbos than any other day. Nevertheless, they then hold him accountable for failing to fill the halacha of delight on Shabbos, and he has to fast another day for the fact that he fasted on Shabbos. Here the Gemara asks, what is his remedy to atone and avoid punishment? Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak said he must sit in observance of another fast on a weekday to atone for fasting on Shabbos. After explaining the uncommon expression on her heart, the Gemara cites an additional statement in the matter of Chana. And Rabbi Elazar said, Chana spoke impertinently toward God on high. As it is stated, she prayed unto the Lord, as opposed to the common phrase that she spoke to the Lord. This teaches that she spoke impertinently toward on high. On a similar note, Rabbi Elazar said that Elijah also spoke impertinently toward God on high as well in his prayer on Mount Carmel. Are we familiar with Elijah's prayer on Mount Carmel?
No.
So the story over there, are we going to bring the whole story here? Second. Okay. So the story is that the Jewish people at the time were, the Jewish people at the time were very wicked, and they were all serving idols. And Elijah was the prophet, and Elijah said, enough is enough. Enough is enough. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a showdown between myself representing God and 400 prophets of Baal representing the idol that you guys are so involved in. We'll take 2 oxen. We'll each slaughter an ox, and we'll each offer it on an altar, but without putting fire. And whichever one is burned and consumed by a fire from God, that is the true God. So these people who built their altar, they had someone inside the altar with matches, and he was planning on sacrificing himself and burning in order to prove their religion as correct. God sent a snake, a venomous snake, which bit this person and killed him. So they had no fire. And they were sitting there and pulling out their hair and screaming to their gods, but of course no fire came. Then Elijah came, and Elijah said, answer me, Lord, answer me, that this people will know that you are Lord God, and that you have turned their heart backward. And then God sent a fire, and it ate the ox and the altar and all the water that he had poured on it as well. And the Jewish people realized that God is the true God. So apparently, Elijah also spoke impertinently toward God on high in his prayer at Mount Carmel, as it is stated, answer me, Lord, answer me, that this people will know that you are the Lord God and you have turned their hearts backward, claiming that God had caused the Israel to sin. On this topic, Rabbi Shmuel bar Yitzchak said, from where do we know that the Holy One, blessed be He, God, ultimately conceded to Elijah that he was correct? As is written in a future prophecy, in that day, says the Lord, I will assemble the lame, and I will gather those who are abandoned, and those whom I have dealt in wickedness. God is stating that he caused Israel to act wickedly. Similarly, Rabbi Chama, the son of Rabbi Chanina, said, had it not been for these 3 verses, which imply that God can make us change for the better. The legs of the enemies of Israel, a euphemism for the Jewish people ourselves, would have collapsed, as Israel would have been unable to withstand God's judgment. And what are those 3 verses? We'll continue with next week. Welcome to page 32b. We covered a lot of ground today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zalman. And thank you, Bela Esther. Wishing you all a wonderful day. Tomorrow, we have a wonderful class prepared.
I won't be able to make it tomorrow. I
Okay.
gotta take my wife to the airport.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for the heads up. And for everyone who can make it, we are going to be learning about, where is this? When love pushes you into the sea, a surprising journey sparked by an ancient love song that encapsulates the Jewish story. Wishing you all a wonderful day with blessings and success, and we'll see you next week, God willing.
Okay, thank you.
You.
Good day.